In this chapter, we're finally going to be taking a look at making mobile apps. To start with, I'll say that that's not even really true. We've been making mobile apps all along. Using HTML5, JavaScript, and CSS3 together, we're creating applications that can be viewed on virtually any device. But in this chapter, we're going to take a look at some specifics for designing for mobile. Now, the first thing that I want to take a look at is the use of local storage. What we'll literally be doing is storing data locally in the user's browser without using any cookies. It's more secure, faster, and you can store a lot of data and not really affect your site's performance. So let's just take a look at how it works. I'll open up the first file, try web storage, and as usual, I'm going to open it up in our browser, and I'll open it up inside of my TextEdit application as well. Now, as you can see, I've already got a few blocks of elements set up for us to work with. Up in the top here, we've got a greeting, and we've got an entry box for a first name. And then down here at the bottom, we're going to be computing a total, and we've got an entry box for a number. If we take a look at the code over here, we can see that each one of the elements has already got IDs assigned to it. So all we'll have to do is use those. And all of our button elements have an on-click event already assigned to them with a function name attached. And I've got the function started out for us right down here. Let's start out at the top with the window on load function, and the first thing I want to do is just try out web storage. Here's how we'll set this up. When the window loads, I'd like to take the name of the user and just load it up here into the greeting. So let's write a couple of lines of code to do that. The first thing I'll do is create a variable to store the name. I'll call it first name. For an example, we'll just set it equal to Bob. Then I'd like to take this variable and place it into the greeting. It's got a paragraph ID of greeting up here at the top, so we can just use that. I'll use document getElement by ID. And of course, we're looking for the greeting element. We'll change its inner HTML. And let's set that equal to the text hi, since we are doing a greeting. We'll add a space, close off our quote, and then simply add in the first name. If we were to save and test this page right now, it would work. When the window loads up, we would assign Bob to the variable first name, and then use that variable to put a greeting. But of course, if we refresh the page or close the window and reopened it again, our program would have to reassign the value of Bob to first name each time. What I'd like to do is store this value locally on the client's browser. And that way, even if they close the window, they can come back to this page and they'll still have the data. Let's try it out. To make this variable a local storage variable, I simply add that to the beginning of the variable name. We'll type here, local storage. Notice the S is capital, and I'll use a dot to set this up as a variable first name inside local storage. Now, of course, since we changed our variable one place, we should change it everywhere else. So let me add local storage to the variable name over here. And now we're ready to try it out. I'll just save our changes. Let's go over to our browser and refresh the page. And you can see it says Hi Bob up here as a greeting. So it's definitely using our variable. Now we made that a local storage variable, so I'd like to do something that's kind of interesting. Let's go back to our script, and I'm going to comment out this first line. Now our page will not assign the variable Bob, but it'll still try to use it inside of the page. Let's save this change. We'll go back to our page and refresh. And you can see it still says Hi Bob. And the reason is that the local storage variable stored it inside the browser. So when our statement came along and tried to use local storage first name, it was still there from the last page that we had refreshed. Interestingly enough, I can close the browser and the window completely, and let's go back over and reopen the page in the browser. And you can see the variable is still there. Now, just so we don't have to comment out that script each time we want to test it, let's go back to our code, and we'll use the Enter Name button and the function down here. I'll let it do our assignment. I'll take out our variable assignment from the window on load function, and we'll just go and drop it into the Enter Name function. I can take away our comment markers, and this time, instead of assigning Bob directly to it, let's assign whatever is in the field here that's called first name. I'll just use a document getElement by ID again. We'll look for the first name element. And since it's an input field, we'll use the value to get whatever's inside of it. Let's save our changes and give it a try. I'll refresh my page, and you can see it still has Bob stored in as our local storage variable. But now, if I put in the name Fred here and click the Enter Name button, at first we don't see any changes because our greeting message is placed in the document onload. So let's refresh the page to have the document load again, and this time you can see that Fred is showing up as the name. And if I even close the browser, since that's stored in a local storage variable, and open it back up, I can see that the value is still stored.